salsa remains of what was thought but unsaid, all the calcified arithmetic.
Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the What Shara Made podcast. Thank you for joining me and spending a little bit of your day with me. I hope you've got a cup of tea or a drink and you're knitting or crochet or any other craft and you're having a little bit of time for yourself. I have been quite busy because, as you know, it's been a bit of time since my last episode. I've had quite a full house of people and it's been almost impossible to get a quiet room to myself that whole time, which is fine. And I've got the house to myself today, so I thought I'd better film an episode. I've been still managing to do quite a bit of knitting and crochet despite being so busy. I've got several FOs to show you and I've got several whips as well, of course. And I might as well just jump straight into those whips because they're sitting here staring at me. You might remember from a previous episode, in fact I've probably shown it on a couple of previous episodes, the sock I was knitting for myself, that will hopefully be a pair of socks, out of some of my hand spun yarn, my hand spun sock yarn. Well, I finished one of the socks last week and I was really pleased with myself because I've had that sock on the needles for about 6 months and I tried it on and it was too small. The length was fine, but the heel was really shallow and the fabric was being stretched so much that it was uncomfortable and it didn't look very good, and I knew whilst I could force it onto my foot, if I moved at all or was walking anywhere, the heel would slip down under my foot and that would just be so annoying and uncomfortable, so I unravelled the whole lot. And I've started a new sock and I've decided to do the blueberry waffle pattern instead of the pattern I was doing, which was a 3x1 rib in the previous sock. So now I've got the leg done in this. It's actually more that colour in real life. And I'm just about to start the heel flap. And I think part of the problem with the last one was that I had used the Fish Lips Kiss heel and it's a particularly shallow heel. So I'm just going to do a traditional heel flap and gusset with this one, then I can make it a little bit deeper. And I've actually gone up a needle size as well, so I think that's going to make a nicer, it is making a nicer fabric. And the blueberry waffle pattern, that's just so squishy and delightful. So that is what I'm doing. Can you see that ridge there in the middle? I'm not sure what's going on there, but clearly I did something unusual. Oh well, lucky it's just for me. And I'm really enjoying working on these. The blueberry waffle pattern is so quick and easy and you don't really have to remember anything. So it's great TV knitting or travel knitting, out and about knitting. So that's what I've been using this whip for when I'm out and about, and it's working up quickly-ish, quicker than the last sock took me anyway. So I'm pretty pleased with that, and I'm still madly in love with this hand spun sock yarn, and I can't wait to spin some more sock yarn actually because it's just so beautiful. So that's the first whip. My next whip is a bit of a funny whip because there's not really a whole lot to it yet. So I was at my local yarn shop the other day and I noticed that one of the yarns was discontinued, so it was a little bit cheaper, and it's a really beautiful yarn that I've wanted to try for a really long time, but couldn't think of anything to make out of it. Anyway, when I saw that there were just the very last 3 balls of this yarn, it's been discontinued, can't get any more. I saw it was such a gorgeous colour and I knew my mum would love the colour. I thought I'll just grab them and then I'll find a pattern that will work with the amount of yarn that I have. And I found a pattern. It's oh my goodness, what's her name? Sylvia Harding? She's awesome anyway. And the pattern is called A Rose is a Rose, and I've only done the first 3 rows. It's a beautiful lace shawl. Doesn't really look like much, does it? Yet, but hopefully by the next time I film, it will look more like a shawl instead of like a vine. And this is going to be for my mum for Mother's Day, and she doesn't know she's getting it. It's going to be a complete surprise, so I'll only ever be able to work on it while she's not around. So I better get cracking on that. In the actual pattern, the piece is beaded, has beads on it, and it looks beautiful, but I don't have any beads that are suitable in the correct amount that I would need, and there's just nowhere near me that sells beads that would be suitable, and there's nowhere online. I looked and looked and looked, and I couldn't find anywhere online that would be able to send me beads in a hurry, and I need to do this now because Mother's Day in Australia is not this coming weekend but the weekend after, so I need to get this shawl done. And the yarn that I'm using that is discontinued is Rowan Savannah, and it's a cotton silk blend, and it's sort of a little bit thick and thin, a bit slubby, but it's really beautiful. It's got a gorgeous hand to it. It's not fluffy or it's not shedding at all like cotton yarns sometimes do, which I find really hard to work with. So this is really nice. So naturally it's discontinued. So you can get a bit of the idea of the texture there. It's such a lovely yarn. I might have to go back and buy the remaining lots in other colours at my local yarn store because it's so pretty. That's more like the actual colour, and it's beautiful. Sort of like a dusty greeny blue. It really reminds me of that beautiful colour of lichen, which is one of my favourite colours. Oh, so pretty. Although I'm a sucker for any sort of dusty colour. I just love it. So hopefully I will have that finished to show you in the next episode. So that's my second whip. I've got a third whip. As you would know, I'm still working busily away on all my beanies for the Beanie Festival that I am taking part in. That's happening in May. And I've now got 11, and this is my 12th, and I need 15. I should be able to get it done without any trouble. So, I'm not using a pattern for this. Well, I sort of am using a pattern for it, but it's one of my own that's just at this stage in my head. But I'll probably write it up because I seem to be getting quite a good response for this hat. But I'm partway through the actual hat part of it now. We've got one of my favourite stitch markers on there from Wonderwool Designs on Etsy. How cute is that little owl? And you can see there, there's a bit of a slit stitch pattern happening in the brim. Oh, yeah, that's the brim. And you can see a bit of variation in that yarn, which I really am loving. Once again, another dusty colour. And this yarn is a merino alpaca blend, and it's the Clequeton Lawson tweed. I've just pulled the stitches off my needles. And it is gorgeous. It is so nice. They come in 50-gram balls, and I actually bought 2 of this beautiful dusty purple, and because I thought it would take that much to make the hat. And I actually got a whole hat out of 1 ball. So now this is my second hat. And I'll show you the other hat in my FOs later. I'm really enjoying working with it. It's really soft, but it's not, I don't know, it's still got a nice rustic feel about it. And the colours are just beautiful, and this yarn comes in the prettiest range of colours, and I'm actually off to my local yarn store after I finish filming this, and I think I might have to get some more. Oh. It's a new yarn this season, and I've been holding off, and eventually I just gave in on the weekend and bought some. And I'm really glad I did, because it's just gorgeous. And I think I might consider making my friend a blanket using this yarn. I don't know. It's one of the options that I've got in mind. So that's that, and I'll show you what that's going to look like when it's finished, because I've got a second one, as I said, in my FOs. And I've got a half object, a hoe. Just one sock of this pair so far. And this sock was made in an effort to use up as much of my sock yarn as possible. I've got a pretty vast stash of beautiful sock yarn, and I want to buy more. So all the time, of course, I want to buy more. So I need to use some of it to make room for new stuff, and I'm just trying to work my way through all of it. So this is one sock. It's pretty cool, actually. I'd sort of been holding on to this yarn because I didn't love it in the ball. It doesn't look great in the ball. I had no idea it was going to turn out this cool. So now I'm really looking forward to making the second sock. And these are for me. And it's not an actual pattern, it's just one that's from my head. But I'll show you up close. Hopefully you'll get... I don't know if that's really showing you much. Not really. Oh, sorry. But it's called a farrow rib, and it's worked over 3 stitches, and as you can see, those ones are always knit, the columns, and then there's a combination. It's sort of like a rib with moss stitch in between, if that makes sense. Oh god, this will make my hand really hot. So I'm really happy with that, and as you can see, I've done a heel flap and gusset again, my newfound love. And I tried the Eye of Partridge heel on this one for the first time, and I love it. I think it might be my new heel flap. So, I don't know if you can see that. And it creates a really nice, thick fabric that hopefully won't wear through too quickly. And then just used a pretty standard toe. Nothing to it there. And that worked out really quickly. I think I did that probably in maybe over 2 evenings, so fingers crossed it won't take me too long to make it into a pair. And now I'm gonna go into my finished objects. This is what that whip of the purple hat is going to look like. So it's a little cap. I'll probably put this on and show you what it looks like. So you get the idea of what it looks like there. And it's, I don't know what it's like everywhere else, but in winter here it's often freezing but really sunny. And it's kind of good having this winter cap version with the brim and everything. And I sort of feel like it keeps me a bit warmer with that brim. I don't know if that's even science, but I don't know. It doesn't matter if it's a placebo effect as long as it makes me feel warm. So this is the little pattern I've been working on. I've made a few before. Gosh, I love the way this yarn works up. It's so nice. So as you can see, with my whip, you make the hat, and of course you could just leave the peak off it if you don't fancy that, and just have the beanie with the slip stitch band, but you can also put the peak on it if you feel like it. And that's just picked up on the edge, and it's a double layer to keep it nice and sturdy. And you don't need to put anything inside it to have it stand out like this. It just sits out nicely because of the actual stitch construction of it, which is good. But yeah, I really like that hat. So, oh, lovely hat hair there. So that's one FO for the Beanie Festival. And I've got another one. And this one's made out of some beautiful possum yarn. It is insanely warm, this one. Almost too warm. And this has been a bit squished in my little basket of hats, so the brim is a bit crooked. I might need to block that out before I send it off. You get the idea. It's probably more of a kid size, that one, than an adult size. And a black version with... I tried a slightly different brim on this, and as you can see, it curls a little, and that's not ideal. That's not the look I was going for. So this is a bit of a prototype, and I'm glad I tried it, so I know that my other brim is actually indeed better. But this is done with some Bendigo Luxury 10-ply worsted weight, and the little dots are actually some leftover possum yarn. It's nice and warm, that one. And I've got one more. Look, another one. I've been busy, haven't I? 3 of these 4 were knit yesterday, so it was mainly just a day of knitting hats. Pretty cute. That one's done with much thicker yarn. It's called, the yarn that I've used for this is called Eden, which I've got a feeling it's only called Eden in Australia, and it's called something else overseas because there was a clash of names. But I really like that. Pretty groovy. I love yellow, as you would know. So that's a pretty thick yarn. You'll see it's quite hefty. It's a bulky weight yarn, and that it took less than 2 hours from cast on to weaving in the ends and having it finished. So you can see the peak sits out quite nicely, and yeah. So you can do the hat in that pattern. I've used 4 different weights of yarn for those hats, and you just have to work out your gauge and fit it in. It's actually time for a sip of tea. My favourite mug, always. And I've got some peach black tea in here, and it is beautiful. And I got that tea, God, that's nice. I got that tea in a swap with a lovely, lovely viewer, and I've actually done quite a few swaps recently, and I'm going to show you those in another episode because there's so many beautiful things that I got. Oh my God, I was so blown away. And people are so lovely. That's great. And I've got another FO. This was made as a gift for a friend's friend. So a friend commissioned me to make this for her friend. And my friend is in Canada, and her friend lives in Tasmania, which is an island off the south coast of Australia, just below my state. And her friend was having a baby. So she's just given birth to a beautiful, healthy little boy. So I made this hat for him. It's looking purple on the screen, but it's actually a dusty blue-grey. It's definitely not purple. But it's got polka dots, a little bit of colour work there. Let's see. So it's a bit of a double layer there, which is nice and warm. Tasmania gets pretty cold, so I think he will enjoy that. And I'm sure he's going to look beautiful in it. So, and this is just one of my patterns. I might write it up and release it. I don't know. I got pretty good response when I put it on Instagram. Like, other people would probably like to make adorable little polka dot bonnets for their little people too. And this is a pattern that I've been using. I wrote it years and years and years ago, and it's just a nice standard little bonnet pattern. It's quick and easy, and you can use up, it's a good one for using up scraps. So Yeah, it's very sweet. This one is actually made using Cleckheaton Superfine Merino, which is the squishiest, springiest, spongiest, softest wool I have used in a long time. And it's all produced here in my state. It's just gorgeous. Love it. Now, my next FO, you might remember, was an almost FO in my last episode. It's the Persuading Jane cardigan. The pattern is by the Restless Knitter. And in the last episode, all I had to do was cast off maybe the last 50 stitches of the button band and then sew in the ends and add buttons. And I finished it that evening. But guess what? That was 2 weeks ago. And since I finished it, the weather has been way too warm to wear a cardigan. Like, it's going to be almost 30 degrees Celsius here today. It's almost May. Like, it should not be this warm, but it is. And it has been really warm for the last 2 weeks. We had one day of quite heavy rain, but it was still warm. Anyway, hopefully the weather will cool down eventually and I will get to wear my cardigan. So, here we go. This is my Persuading Jane cardigan. You can see it's a cropped style with a deep V. And on the back is this absolutely beautiful cable pattern. It's so pretty. I love it. And these are my buttons. I don't know how well that's showing up. And those buttons I've had in my stash for quite some time. Just waiting for the perfect project to come along for these beautiful vintage buttons. And it did. This is it. And the yarn I used was my sparkle base that I use for my hand dyeing of yarn. And you may remember I had a bit of an issue with the yarn. I dyed 2 skeins together in the same batch and they came out extremely differently. But I didn't realise that until I had knit the whole body of the cardigan in one skein and then started the sleeves in the other skein, and they literally looked like 2 different colourways. They weren't even like a bit tonal, and they just looked like 2 different colourways. And there was no way I was undoing the whole lot. Of course, I should have knit 2 rows from one skein and 2 rows from the other, and it wouldn't have been as bad. But even if I did that, I think it would have, the difference in the 2 skeins was so vast that it would have just looked like I'd done stripes. So what I did was I over-dyed the entire cardigan once I'd finished it, and that worked a treat, like 100% better. I'm totally happy with it now. So you can see it's all pretty even. There's nothing too weird about it. It's still tonal, so you've got that texture from the colour, which is exactly what I wanted. So I'm really happy with it now. At first I was like, oh, what have I done? But all good now. And I love it, and I cannot wait to wear it. I did realise after I'd finished it that I probably could have gone down a size. It's a smidgen big for me, but not so big that it looks unflattering or anything, but it could have been, I could have gone down a size, but it doesn't matter. I'll know for the next time I make it, because I'll definitely be making another one. I just love it so much. It's so pretty. Just gorgeous. And also the actual original pattern of the Persuading Jane cardigan has short little cap sleeves, which are really cute. But I wanted 3/4 length sleeves, so I modified the pattern a little to accommodate that. Now, more tea time. I have got one more FO to show you, and it's living in my totally cool basket. Oh my god, I love this basket so much. I got it from the Crafty Squirrel in Ballarat. just in case anyone else is wondering. I love it. My next defo, I'm so pleased to finish this because towards the end it really felt like it was just dragging on and on. And I stayed up really late to do the bind off because I just wanted to finish it. I was over it. And now that I've finished it, I am glad because it's beautiful, but B, I've had a deadline on this, and now that I've done it, I feel like I can knit all the things again. So I did yesterday. Once I'd finished this, I knit 4 hats. So that's good. But it's my finished exploration station shawl for the 6+ twine knit along. Now I may have to move back to show you this. So, I'm still not fitting it in, but you get the idea. How magnificent is this? Oh my god, I love it. What a cool pattern. Oh. I love it. I just absolutely love it. The colours are showing up reasonably well. Excuse me, one moment. So, there we have it. I'm going to have to come back in now. So, we've got the short row section here. Beautiful. The brioche section here. Slip stitch section there. Nothing but knits. And then the chevron, lacy chevron border. So, it's so lovely. I just love it. I'm not entirely sure. I totally love it. I really do. But I've already got one. And I get a lot of use out of that one. Because the colours are more, not entirely neutral, but they're more neutral than this. And I don't know that I'm going to get a lot of wear out of these colours. Maybe I will. So I think this one might go into the present drawer, where I, all year long, add presents as I make them or buy them. And then when it comes time to find a beautiful present for a beautiful friend or family member, I have presents ready to go. And I've got 2 people in mind that I know would love this. So I might keep it in mind for them. Oh my god, it's so pretty. But we'll see. Maybe I'll one day decide that I will get lots of wear out of it and I will use it. Sorry about my squeaky voice. It's very smoky here at the moment, and it's really affecting me because it's making my nose run, great, and it's affecting my breathing. I don't get asthma very often, thank goodness, but the constant smoke is just yeah, it's a bit overwhelming, and it's really hard to get your clothes dry outside because they all just come in stinking like smoke. And the reason there is so much smoke around is because it's autumn now and the summer burning restrictions have been lifted, so now everyone's allowed to burn off, and it's meant to be that you only burn off dry leaves or dry garden waste, but people just love to burn everything, especially green or wet leaves, and that just creates so much smoke and it's ridiculous. But to add to that, the government is also doing some planned burns in the hills around my place. And I'm surrounded by hills that are covered in very dense bushland, and as a part of keeping the area safe from devastating bushfires that can happen in summer, they burn a lot of the undergrowth away during the cooler months. And this is what would happen this is sort of what would happen in nature A lot of the Australian bush needs fire to survive. I know that sounds a bit odd, but there's quite a few seeds for Australian native plants that won't germinate without fire, as in the seed pods won't open without fire. But also fires are a natural part of the Australian environment, but fires in bush don't work well when there's a heavy human population. So they do these controlled burns in the hope that it will mimic the natural burning that would occur if people weren't here. But also add to that there's logging around in the hills around here, which is pretty sad. And they do a lot of clearing by burning, and it's pretty powerful. I can see, just looking out my window now, I can see smoke haze in the air, and it's really unpleasant. Thankfully today there's quite a bit of wind, so it's moving the smoke along a bit. When it's overcast, the smoke just hangs around and it's really horrible. Anyway, the burning restrictions will come back into place quite soon, so that will help, and hopefully I'll have a slightly less scratchy, squawky voice. And something else that lots of people ask me about is they can hear birds in the background of my podcast. I don't have any pet birds or anything like that. They're just the birds that just hang out in my garden. And we have a lot of birds, a lot of native birds, and they're beautiful. And most of them have got beautiful calls and song as well. Some of them are a bit less beautiful. But they're all lovely in their own way. And people have asked me what sort of birds they are that they can hear in the background. Well, we have cockatoos, and that's the sulphur-crested cockatoo. And we have black cockatoos. My favourite. And wattlebirds. And rosellas. And rainbow lorikeets. And eastern rosellas, my other favourites. And kookaburras. And magpies. And satin bowerbirds, which are just magnificent. And I think that's probably all the birds that you will hear in the background on a regular basis here. And I do have the pleasure of watching them in my backyard. We've got a few bird baths around, and they know that we have a few bird baths around, and they come in and play and have a wash and have a drink, and it's really beautiful to watch. And then you get a really close-up view of gorgeous, gorgeous birds. So we're pretty lucky. We really love it. And I've got one more thing to show, which is an acquisition. You've probably seen these around, and you've seen other podcasters using them. And I've seen other podcasters using them and raving about how much they love them. and I tried to resist. I tried for several months to resist, and then they brought out a new colour, and I could resist no longer. And I got a Fringe Supply Co. field bag. So this is my latest project bag. It's made of a heavyweight canvas. It's got a raw leather strap here, and I don't know how well this is going to show up, but there's pockets inside, and you can put your hooks or your pens in there. You could probably even put some DPNs, whatever you like, in there. I have my little notepad and my little notions box there. It has sewing needles and buttons and beads and safety pins and stitch markers and stuff in it. And there's a pocket here for your fold with pattern. I don't know if this is going to be too visible, but can you see these things here? They're little eyelets, so that if you're using multiple colours of yarn, you can thread your yarn through those to help keep them from getting too tangled. So that's been beautiful. I'm really been enjoying using this. I love it. It's really sturdy and handy, and I'm so happy I bought it. The price of it, to be honest, was a little bit ridiculous because of the woeful exchange rate between the Australian dollar and the US dollar at the moment, and that's part of the reason I'd been holding off. I was just waiting for the Australian dollar to rise a little more, and it didn't look like it was going to go anywhere except down. So I just decided I'll just get it. And the very next day, like clockwork, the Australian dollar had a massive spike, and then the day after that it went back down. But I said to my sister, as soon as I bought this, I said, you just wait. Tomorrow the Australian dollar will have a massive spike. And it did. It did. Of course it did. Of course it did. But never mind. You know, that's life. Now, my next thing that I need to do is draw a winner for the April prize for the year-long stash busting giveaway. If you haven't heard of this because you're new to the podcast, what it is a year-long, knit-along, or crochet-along, or weave-along, craft-along, where you can use yarn from your stash, and what that means is anything that you acquired prior to 2016, if you use stash yarn in a project, once it becomes a finished object, you can add a picture of it to the FO thread for this giveaway, and that means you're then in the draw for the monthly prize. And it's the last episode before the end of April, so I'm going to draw an April winner, and let us see if my phone will play nicely, then we will be able to draw a winner. So I just need to find out how many people, how many entries there are in this one. Oh my god, there's so many pretty things. Oh, there's all sorts of new things added in there. So I've got a total of 105 entries so far in the FO thread. You guys have been really busy. The first couple of posts are mine, so it starts from 4 to 105, and I'm going to use a random number generator to do this. So 4 and 105. So you can see there I've got between 4, no you can't, trust me, it says between 4 and 105. And I'm going to generate that, see what number I get. 34, post 34. Who is the lucky winner? That should be on the second page. Let me see. Who have we got here? Oh, it's going nice and slow. 34, 34, 34. who have we got? Who's the lucky winner? Oh, how lovely. It's so nice. Tokyo City Girl, you are the winner. And I guess you're all wondering what the prize is. It's pretty good. Now let me just show you this beautiful cowl that Tokyo City Girl has made. Now Tokyo City Girl has been quite prolific adding her stash made FOs in this thread. So good on you for making so many. I wonder if I can show you here. This beautiful cowl. Oh, so lovely. I love that yarn too, that's gorgeous. And lovely Tokyo City Girl. Let's see what your actual name is. The internet is very slow here. The internet all over Jacqueline, who is in Tokyo, Japan. So congratulations, Jacqueline. If you want to send me a private message on Ravelry with your address details, I will send off the prize to you. The internet in the whole of Australia is not great. It's much, much worse than whatever you're imagining. Like the slowest internet, if you're not inside Australia, this applies to you. The slowest internet you can imagine, that's what the internet is like at its best in Australia. It's pretty bad. And I don't think people really understand that. When you say, oh no, I won't be able to do that, my internet won't cope, and they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, imagine like internet in the 90s. That's what it's like here. Occasionally you'll get lucky and you'll get something reasonably fast, but you would never want to rely on it. And it drops out, and it's really bad. And the prize for this one, after my little internet tangent there, the prize for this month's giveaway has been very kindly donated by the very talented and delightful Chooktopia, and hopefully I'll add a photo of the prize here. And that is a beautiful fabric bucket that you can use to store or hold your yarn, and you can use it like a yarn bowl. I have one made out of slightly different fabric than the one I just showed you, and it's awesome. I just pop it on the couch next to me or on the floor next to my chair with my yarn in it, and I knit away, and it's beautiful. And then I can put my projects back in it and keeps it all nice and tidy, and it looks so cute. So hopefully you love that as well, Jacqueline. And I'll get it mailed off to you very soon. Now I've been talking for quite a while because it's been a while since my last episode, so I had a lot to talk about. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you're getting lots of crafting done. I hope the weather is being kind to you. I know quite a few of you have had unexpected snow recently, so that's been interesting. And I know my friends in Texas have been getting a lot of rain as well, so that's not so great, but you know, that's weather. So take care, everyone. I will see you again soon, hopefully. And if ever you're wondering about anything in the podcast or to do with the podcast, you can check out the mod announcements in the Ravelry group as well. And there is a link to the Ravelry group in the down bar below here. So I'll see you all again very soon. Bye.